Welcome, everyone, to another fantastic episode of Double Booked. Today's guest has taken one of the most unsettling true mysteries in British history and reshaped it into something eerie, intimate, and deeply human. They're the mind behind Who Put Bella in the Wych Elm, a story that pulls us into the fog drenched woods where memory blurs, ghosts whisper, and the truth is hidden. Please join me in welcoming the great and powerful Blake Myers. How's it going, Blake?
Doing pretty good. I feel like Oz with that introduction.
It's
Yeah,
exactly
like you
right.
just pulled the curtain up and the great and powerful
The
Oz. Here he
great and
is.
powerful Blake Myers. Yes. Well, I really appreciate you being here. I've been looking forward
Thank
to
you.
this conversation for a while since I went through and finished your fantastic book. It was I mentioned to you before we jumped on the live, but it was so much fun. It was so intimate, and I just binged through it. I could not put the book down. It was so engaging. Um, Before we jump into some of the questions I have for you today, do you mind going over just a quick elevator pitch about Who Put Bella in the Wych Elm for those that are not familiar with your story?
So I took a true murder, unsolved mystery, and one that had a lot of really strange, unusual twists to it. And I decided to put a what if scenario behind it of what if all of this oddity associated with her actual murder is her ghost, wanting revenge, wanting justice for herself. So that's as simple as it gets.
That's it. Love it. Love it. We have some friends that jumped in, so I want to go through and say hey, and then I want to lean in a little bit to what got you in the writing. I'm really curious
Okay.
on your background with this because from at least from my perspective, it doesn't feel like someone's first book. It feels like you have a history and a background within writing, and I'm really curious about jumping into that.
Okay.
But we have some friends here. We have Sean, the man, the myth,
Hey.
the cancer, Blake Myers. How's it going, Sean? Glad you're here. We got a few other friends. How's it going? And then Sean, we always got Sean
Oh,
Sandwich
we,
in
we
here.
got a Sean sandwich going on.
We've got a
Nice.
Sean sandwich. All right, so um, the beginning. What's your background outside of writing? Did you always want to go through and tell stories? You want to go through and tell us a little bit about your background?
I was a fibber in school, an absolute fibber. I once told my fourth grade teacher that I had a pet bat. What's that all about? Like, where did that come from? I don't know. I was just a fibber. I would tell stories, make up crap all the time, and I guess that was just my wild imagination, just running wild and doing things. I never really pursued writing or really thought about writing in particular, but I always liked the idea of having a story to tell, So whether it was telling a great joke or something like that, I just loved to retell a story. There were pranks that I pulled in college that I became famous for retelling this prank over and over again to my students at school. And so they'd always ask about it, tell us the story. So that was just kind of natural for me. I like to make up crap and tell crap, just anything that gets a little entertainment out of people, get a kick. So that's really about the root of it, to where I came from, but no actual intention in the past to write a book, to be a writer.
Okay.
So
So what was that turning point then? Since it was always, hey, I'm just a entertainer, storyteller kind of thing, which does kind of lean into being a storyteller in the writing. But what made you make that shift, but from being an entertainer in person to, hey, I kind of want to try this storytelling thing?
Stranger Things. So I had a friend from the US come visit me and my wife, and she's like, there's this new series on Netflix. We need to watch it while I'm here. I'm like, you're visiting Prague and you want to sit down and watch a Netflix show? Okay, fine. I don't care. Whatever. This is your holiday. So we binge watched the first season, and the whole entire time I was like, this is just awesome. I would love to tell a story like this. And then I was like, well, why don't I? Or why don't I tell a story like this? So that just kind of gave me just this initial spark of interest to just say, hey, sit down, come up with some ideas, put some things on paper, let the mill just kind of do its thing and see what happens. So definitely Stranger Thing that really got my interest kind of going for writing.
Are you caught up with Stranger Things?
Yes.
Okay. I
Well,
am.
wait, hold on. When's the next season start? Next week or like
It's not starting next week.
Thanksgiving? Right,
There's
it's
no way.
Thanksgiving.
It's starting this. It's starting already. Okay. I'm not sure. I didn't
I
know it
think
was
it's
coming back.
Thanksgiving, right? So you got to Google it. Yeah, there we
I'm
go.
googling it real quick
Yeah.
because I didn't know it was coming out this year. I thought it was next year.
No, it's this year. I think it's like
It's
Thanksgiving,
November 26th.
Christmas.
It's
Yeah,
November 26th. Okay, and then
yeah,
December
they're gonna
25th.
do, and then New Year's.
Okay,
Yeah, then it's
awesome.
done.
I had another. I thought we had another year. Oh, cool. I'm.
Well, it's
I'm.
already been like 20. It feels like,
Well, it has
Yeah,
been like the kids are like
yeah.
they started out this big and now they're. It's been a few years
It's
later and now
insane.
they're grown adults. But
I mean,
that's a
this
whole.
is true, suspense of disbelief. To
Mhm,
think about these are still, teenagers. Yeah,
mhm. Yeah, yeah.
gotcha.
Still children. So let's. I'm curious. I want to lean in a little bit about the Stranger Things. What were you a big Dungeons and Dragons
No,
player as a kid growing up? So
no,
what?
I grew up in quite a religious home. Matter of fact, that's what my degree is in, religion and philosophy. I studied actually to be a minister. And so I definitely being, a Gen Xer in a conservative home, Dungeons and Dragons was of Satan,
Yeah,
type thing. Now,
yeah.
of course, my parents have relaxed on all that over the years. They're more realistic on those things, and same with my music taste. They bought me Metallica album when I was in high school, like a kid. So I mean,
Mhm.
they chilled out after a while, but definitely there was that craze in the '80s of like, no, 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 like you don't
Mhm.
mess with this stuff. And
Yeah.
they even made me watch that Tom Hanks made for TV movie. I don't know if you know about that one.
Mm-mm.
Tom Hanks was like 16 or 18 or something when he made this movie. And it's all about him and his friends playing Dungeons and Dragons, and he goes crazy and starts killing people because he thinks he's in the world. I don't remember the
Cool.
name of it, but I just remember it's Tom Hanks.
Cool.
It's on imdb.com, so you can look it up that way. Reverse look from Tom Hanks. But
Mhm.
so I grew up thinking, oh man, yeah, I'll end up killing people if I play this. So no, I never played Dungeons and Dragons. I have since then, but
Mhm.
nothing serious. No
So,
campaigns.
so from a Stranger Things then perspective, what about that show? Was it the writing? Was it the characters? Was it the
The
themes?
oddity,
The oddity.
the oddity. I liked that oddity. It was strange. The
Mhm.
it's just different. And I like a lot of shows and a lot of movies that kind of play on that. They're not completely wild out there, but they are different. They're playing on a different perspective. Like we've seen slashers galore. And I love a good slasher movie. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm a Myers, so you know who my favorite slasher is without question. Got to represent the family, but after a while, like slash is slasher.
Mhm.
Haunted house story is a haunted house story. Although I do have a sweet spot for haunted house stories. Um, but yeah, so I like that oddity, something new, something fresh, something different. Kind of a different angle on things, and I enjoyed that, and that kind of is what like I would like to have something kind of original in that sense.
So, okay. From a so you're a big fan of slashers. Were you into reading growing up as well? Was that something you were interested in?
No, I have serious ADHD, like like beyond just your typical kind. So I liked reading. I just didn't have the patience for it.
Mhm.
It's awful. I love to read, and I still read. I'm reading all the DVS books and then more. A lot of the indie guys, people that we come across on X, even if they're not DVS, I buy their books, I put it on my TBR, and I read them when I can. But it's tough. I really have to push myself to read. So growing up, I wasn't a big reader. However, I did have my stints of reading. So I remember going through my dad's library and finding Ursula Le Guin's Earth to Seas trilogy and reading that just of my own volition. and loving it. I really enjoyed that. Some Michael Crichton.
Hmm.
What was that? Congo. I think I pulled out the shelf. Pet
Hmm.
Cemetery, obviously by King. I pulled that
Hmm.
off the shelf from my dad's library and read those. So I did. I had a love for it, but it was a conflict inside of my love for it, but my ability to sit down and make myself read a book. So I
Hmm.
gravitated towards movies, and I am definitely a movie fiend, like ridiculous. Calm down a lot now that I have a child, but
Has it?
definitely.
So from let's lean, and then I kind of want to get into a little bit about your creative process after this rabbit hole that I'm getting ready to go down. So not really into books, really into the TV shows and movies. Is it always been like slashers and horror, or you've kind of been like a true crime kind of thing? Because this book gives off a true crime
Right.
connoisseur, someone who really loves that genre. Is that something you're interested in as well?
Interesting enough, if it's a TV series, I like strange but fairly realistic murder mystery type stuff.
Hmm.
So like Netflix just came out with something called Department Q not too long ago, and that was great. I
Hmm.
loved it. It was fun. I love those types of TV shows. So if it's a TV show, I love these murder mystery type shows. But if it's a movie, give me horror, and give me horror all day long. Um, but I would say that I've gone through different phases of action and fantasy movies and stuff like that. So I do have quite a broad uh, viewing genre when it comes to movies. But for the most part, if you look at actually what I have on my computer, it's horror, like without question. So
Is
it's
it
my love.
is it the slasher genre? Because horror can really fall into multiple
I
avenues.
well, actually, yeah, I like paranormal. I like ghosts. So most of my stuff is going to be around ghosts per se. No, I'll probably write a slasher one day, and I kind of have an idea like that, but it still has a paranormal mixed in with it, as
Mhm.
as far as the slasher is concerned. Um, but I do, I love the paranormal, I love ghost stuff, so haunted houses really do have a unique place in my heart.
Love it. Love it. Before we jump into your creative process, we have a few people that jumped on, and I just noticed I've been missing them. So we're going to say some quick rundown, quick haze. We got a non Sean.
Hey,
How's it going, non Sean? Then we got Coach Adams. I have to take notes. It's
yeah.
part of my genes. I have to go through and take notes. It's how I keep. If you see my chaos that I put in, I put a lot of arrows and dots and trying to
Oh,
connect
there
the
you go.
dots. So it's just like I'm like, all right, this goes to this, and let's go here. It's all part of the fun. Um, Fina, appreciate you being here. And then we got a few. Oh, we got Rowdy jumped in. How's it going, Rowdy?
Hey, Rowdy, I didn't know you guys have a big one going on tonight.
Oh, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be
Yeah.
fun. Yeah, I got
Yeah,
I got
too bad I'm gonna have to watch the the
the re-
the
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 recap of
afterwards
it.
because I'm not gonna be up at 3 o'clock.
Well, yeah,
Nope,
not
nope,
gonna
yeah.
happen. Yeah, not gonna happen. But it's gonna be chaotic. I'm quite excited for it. And then have you thought about audiobooks? That's a good question.
Um I'm too distracted. Just the pure audio. I'll be in La La Land, just absolute La La Land. Okay,
I
making
hear
sure the
you.
rabbit's not chewing on any cables here. Yeah, I have some and I have listened to them, but I get super distracted. I can't focus. This
Yeah.
whole idea of multitasking, like Molly, she likes to multitask. She'll drive to work and she got the audiobook going. She's like, I go through like 20 bucks a week this way. Like, no, I wouldn't even make it to work. I'd probably die in a car crash, whatever. Be
I
terrible.
get that. I can do that. I do that all the time. I put on headphones and I'm like doing dishes or doing laundry, but my wife can't. She goes, I go, just put on a book while you do it. She's like, I can't. I just stop doing one of the two things. Either I stop listening or I stop doing the dishes
Yep.
and I just sit there
Yep.
listening. And I go, oh, okay, well,
Yep.
it's, different people, different stuff. So I get it. I get it. So you, who put Bella in the Witch Elm? It has that balance because it is based off a true story. So has that balance between realism and a good ghost story, how did you decide when to let the supernatural creep in compared to the real life story? When did you decide to pull back within this?
You know, I just try to go with what felt natural. Like if this was really happening to me, like if this is really the way it would happen, like I don't know, I just kind of let it go and just let it see how it would unfold without any real conscious planning. Although I am a planner more than a pantser, and of course the DVS guys are probably making jokes about this. But at the same time, like I didn't really come up with an intention to say, okay, it's going to be X this and X that. I'm going to introduce the ghost at this point. Now, I just kind of like, you have a person who doesn't believe it's happening.
Mhm,
Of course, there has to be some point where that switch takes place in their mind. We're like, oh, this is actually happening. Oh crap.
mhm,
So I tried to kind of get to a point where like, okay, well, here is the main character, Emma. She's a science person. She's a reasonable person. Unlike me, she's not really religious. She's fairly atheistic, or agnostic, whatever. I don't know. That's up for Emma to decide for herself. But I just kind of was like, at some point though, she'd have to say, okay, I'm sorry, like this can't be science anymore. So in the story, I let that unfold as she sees fit for her to decide that. So it just felt natural. Put myself in her shoes to do that.
So let's stick with Emma for a little bit. So you mentioned you're a planner, which I
Yeah.
always find it intriguing when I talk to authors on if they call themselves a pantser or planner. I feel like there's always a blend there. Anyone that says I plan every aspect, or someone that says I just don't plan at all. I feel like there's most people are in the middle. So I'm really curious for you when it comes
Do
to
you
Emma.
do you have about 6 hours for this conversation?
Yes, yes, we got it. We're good.
Because we could totally go down that route for probably 3 days with me. No, so a planner and a pantser. I did a whole spiel on this on X one time and really made a lot of people angry. But they're the same. They're the same coin. Two different sides of the same
Mhm,
coin. When you look at the neurology of the brain, the way that you have the different neural networks and how they function. You got the executive, and you got some of these others that I forget some of their names because I'm terrible at remembering those things. But they both come into play. Whether you're a pantser or you're a planner, they both are an important part of the creative process. And uh, it's just that one of them you are more aware of if
mhm.
you're a pantser, and if you're a plotter, you're more aware of the other one. But they both have their role, and you can't finish a project. You can't finish a writing project if you don't have both of them involved. It's just not going to happen. So that's all it is. I call myself a or a planner first, then pantser second. But yeah, when I planned this book, Emma was not a main character. I was planning on focusing about six different technicians and following them over the years. So it wasn't just going to be Emma; it was going to be multiples of them. A lot more people were going to know about it, and it wasn't as much of a cover up, so to speak. I'm like even in my head, like the visuals of how it was all played out, totally different from my thinking about it to actually that first outline to then even the first draft. All that just changed so much.
So what then? So was Emma in the original thought process for the original? She wasn't there at all. So
No,
where did
it
Emma?
was a guy.
So
It
where
was a
did Emma
male.
come from? Where did she come from the original thought to being the character within the story?
Um, well, I felt like it was going to be too hard to travel over the decades, all these different characters, to connect with characters. And I felt like there was going to be too much revealing and there wasn't going to be as much like, well, what the heck is going on type thing. Like you'd have to tell too much up front. And I
Mhm.
didn't like that. So I realized that, okay, I can't do all of that. I have to dump a lot of these other ideas out. Um, and I could share some secrets with you afterwards about some of the things I had to dump out. If I told you now, it'd be a major spoiler for a
Yeah.
lot of people. I can't do that. But so yeah, I had to readjust a lot of those things, and I decided that I liked the idea of a final girl,
Hmm.
you know, and it's just it's a classic trope. It really is, and I thought it would be interesting to try to write from a female perspective, um, and put my head into that space, Um, but yeah, so I put her in probably right before draft one. So going from the outline to draft one, I made that final decision to change it to a female character, Emma. And then even a lot of the parts about Emma and her backstory stuff didn't really evolve until maybe draft two. I had to go back and add some of those things.
So for Emma's character, then, did you go through and plan out her arc? Because she is a very intriguing character when you're going through the story. She does a lot of realization about herself. Did you plan those beats, or did that kind of form itself since she wasn't a part of that initial story?
Um, well, when I did, well, hmm, I can't really say how that thought process went down until after I decided to switch to her. But when I did switch to her, though, I have lots of beats. I actually had a lot of dream sequences
Hmm.
that I just dropped them because I didn't like, okay, that's too many tropes, and yeah, a few tropes are fine, don't get me wrong, but I just felt like it was too much. I already had the trope no of her waking up at the very first chapter,
Hmm.
like, oh, you're not supposed to do that, but I did it anyways. And I felt like doing some dream sequences, but a lot of those dream sequences were connected to the tragedy of her personal backstory. For those of you
Hmm.
who've read it, you know what I'm talking about.
Hmm.
And kind of working up to that, and how then Bella integrates into those dream sequences and that tragedy. But I took them all out. I mean, I scratched probably 6 chapters that all involved different, not all of them were dream sequences, but dropped quite a bit of stuff with that and had to rewrite around it because I just didn't like the way it went. But a lot of that was just different parts of her backstory, and I just worked them in different ways.
Hmm. You, as a writer, with this being your first novel, what was the hardest part to go through and write? Was it the realism because this was based off of a real story? Was it the language? Was it the having to go back and rewrite things over again, like the drafting, from the drafting to the editing process? What was the most difficult for you?
Well, it's not my first.
It's not your
It's
first.
my first I published.
Okay. How
Yeah,
many?
I have two that are sitting unfinished. Um, one of them is about 70,000 words, and the other one is about 40,000 words. I would like to one day go back and get those. I don't know if I will. One of them is actually fantasy. The first one actually is a fantasy, dark fantasy, maybe grim or
Hmm.
whatever. I don't know. Um, but no, I mean, playing with those and writing those and planning those out
Mhm.
and doing all that, I think helped me then when I did finally go and do Bella. That okay, I kind of got an idea of what to do and what not to do, so to speak. Although there was still a lot of stuff you had to like redo. And I think for me, excuse me, I think a lot of the things for me that I had to teach myself was not to edit as I write. Now, I know some people like to do that, and there's nothing wrong with it. That's what you want to do. But I felt for me, it just slowed me down way too much. I needed to get it down. I have to get that first draft down and then go back and edit. If I don't, if I'm editing too much as I go, then I'll never get it done. I'll never get that first draft done. I'll never be there. So fighting that urge, and that was something I kind of learned that in those first two books, that I was just I'd write a chapter and then I'd edit it. And I'd write another chapter and then I would edit the first one and then the second one. Then I'd write the third chapter and then I'd re-edit the first one, re-edit the second one, then edit the third one. I'm like, this is not the way to do it. Like, at least not for me. This is
Mhm.
terrible. So slow. And I had to adjust to that. So for me, for my actual debut novel, doing just a straight through draft, and then edit that draft and then work on that draft and then make changes and have the beta read it, or actually have the alpha, then the betas, and all that stuff. So
Mhm.
I had to keep them fairly clean, one step at a time, and not mix the steps together. But I
Right.
know some people do. They like to mix the steps, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just me.
So, what made you? I do want to lean in. I do want to continue down with this story, but I'm really curious. So, two other unpublished books. What made you stop those?
Well, the first one is a fantasy,
Mhm.
as I mentioned,
Yeah.
and it was going to be a trilogy. And I still like the idea, but I kind of thought to myself, am I biting off more than I can chew?
Hmm.
If you're looking at first time writer, with severe ADHD, is a 120,000 word novel, and then a second and a third that you got to write after that. Is that really the right way to go for you? Probably not right off the bat. So I decided to put that into the back burner and do a standalone. And that's when then I actually switched to horror as opposed to a dark fantasy. And that one also is based on true story, so to speak.
Mm.
It's pulling off of the Salem witch trials,
Oh, wow.
and because my family's been in America for 13 generations, so I'm actually kind of a weird one for leaving and going back to the motherland. But I actually come from the Putnam families in Salem, so there's just that little bit of family history there, and I was like, that'd be fun. Let's write about the old folks there, and play with that. And um, I was doing okay on that one until I got inspired to write Who Put Bell in the Witch Elm. When I came across that storyline, there was no focusing on that story, none whatsoever. I couldn't get this idea in my head, so it just totally preoccupied everything, and it was just it was chaos trying to do anything other than to think about Bella. She was an
So,
obsession.
where did that come from? Was it a YouTube video? Was
Yeah,
it someone talk? It was a YouTube video.
yeah.
So,
I
like,
was just YouTube vortex. I hate YouTube, man. Come on, it's just such a wonderful place to just get sucked into a black hole. I mean, there's a lot of great stuff on YouTube. Don't get me wrong. We're on it right now. But I tried to avoid it because my ADHD, I'll never come out of it. And so I was in one of those spirals, and I was just going down this rabbit hole of scary videos of an actual ghost that got caught on camera type thing. And then I came across this video of top 10 unsolved murders in UK, and Who Put Bella in the Witch Elm was number 5. And I was like, oh, I was just when the title came up, oh, well, that's a really interesting idea. Like, that would be a great book title right there. And by the time they finished that like 2-minute segment of that whole video, I was like, nah, that's it. I'm done. This is my book. So here we go.
it's awesome. That's so funny. So, I'm curious about what your research looks like because you're basing it off a real unsolved mystery, but you don't want to do too much research, or at least from my perspective, you don't want to do too much research where you stick yourself in a bubble because you want to have that creative flow. So, what did your research process look like um, before you started writing Who Put Bell in the Witch Elm?
Uh, Well, first thing I did, I just Googled it. And, I came up on the Wikipedia page, and I came up on a couple other blogs of that people had done, and then another YouTube here and there and stuff. And sometimes just to kind of get the basic idea
Mhm.
of the story. And so that was just the initial digesting of it. But the real research came from a great 2-volume book. Wonderful title. Are you ready for the title? Who
Mhm.
Put Bella in the Witch Elm? By Alex Morel. He's a 15-year-old kid. He actually co-wrote it with his father. And he, just like me, got obsessed with this. And he decided, though, this is pure fact. His is just a going down the police documents and all that stuff and all the different theories, all of it, and just putting it out there. This is pure a book documentary of her and her murder. So I have both of those on ebook, and I read them cover to cover to get all the basic. science and fact out of it. And really, to be honest, I think as a 15-year-old kid, of course, he's probably not 15 now. Who
Yeah.
knows how old he is now? But he's definitely an expert on it, because all the other stuff that I came across, there were just little blog posts here, little blog posts there. But man, this kid went all out with the research. So he became my go-to for a lot of this stuff. So I have to always shout out to Mr. Alex Morel and his book, 2 volume, Who Put Bella in the Witch Elm.
You got me obsessed with it. I've watched so many
Oh,
videos
you're
about.
welcome.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate it. Not just with Who Put Bella. Like I'm very intrigued. I've not gone through and read Alex's book, but it's on my list now to go through and see the different perspectives. So you mentioned it in your story as well. There's a lot of theories on what happened to Bella. What made you decide the paranormal route? Was it just your love for it, and you're like, hey, this is where I want to lean
Well, yeah,
into? Or was
because I
it,
like ghosts.
yeah.
I like a ghost story, you know. Oddly enough, in the same month, just I think 15 days after I published my book, another guy published a book on the same thing. It's called Hollow: Who Put Bella in the Witch Elm. But I think his is taking more of the Nazi spy twist. I haven't
Mhm.
read it yet. It's on my TBR, but I've got so much other stuff, it just keeps getting pushed down. But his is coming from like the 1940s. I think most of it is all in the 1940s. It's a former, I think, military man in the RAF who's now a police officer detective. I think, if I recall correctly from the black back blurb, and it's just telling that story, and it came out the same month that I did, which I think is quite funny. But and now I don't remember why that came up. How did I get to that book? I don't know. That happens. See, this is the ADD in me. These ideas just pop in, and I get talking about. I'm like, how did I get here? I have no idea how I got here.
Well, it came in because I said I'm obsessed with it, and I need to check
Oh
out
yeah,
Alex's story. And then you had that aha moment. Oh yeah, that someone else wrote it at the same time
yeah.
with it.
So yeah, it is. It's there's a lot of people out there who are definitely interested in it, and it's I mean, come on, just the title alone, "Who Put Bella in the Witch Elm?" You're like, why is someone inside of a tree? Like,
Hmm.
like
Hmm.
who kills someone and does that? Oh,
Yeah.
this is weird.
We have a legend that just came in. Your marketing guy. Hey, Mark,
Ah, there he
how's
is,
it going, buddy?
Mr.
I was
Mark.
talking about you earlier, man. How you specifically was pushing me into reading this book, and I really greatly appreciate it. But I feel like every week you were asking me, "Hey, have you read Blake's book yet? You need to read Blake's book. It's fantastic. Read Blake's book." So yeah, I appreciate you, Mark, really giving me that push to keep pushing it up on the TBR list to read it.
Thanks. This is my personal cheerleader.
Yeah. You owe him the dollar to get someone to
I
go
do.
through
I do. Yeah. I got a little bribe I got to slip under the table for him.
Love it. Oh my goodness. So I want to lean in a little bit too about Emma and about her job of being a psychologist, being that police detective kind of person. How much familiar were you with that line of work before writing this story?
I've watched all the CSI shows. That makes me an expert, right? Yeah, sure it does. Yes, that's what we're going with. That's the ticket. Um, I mean, I like science, and I have watched all the CSI shows. Um, those are great. I know. I just thought that would be an interesting way to go, because again, she'd be science based. She's just
Mhm.
about the science, and she'd be a skeptic. So I thought it was a great way to have her be a skeptic. If she was just a plain police officer, then it would be too easy to be like, well, they're religious.
Mhm.
I mean, not that I'd have to make them religious, but it'd just be too easy to slip that in. And I was like, well, if they're a CSI tech, well, by default, they're going to be very science based and probably maybe not religious, although there are some scientists who are. But I liked that idea of going that angle of, well, she's She's atheist, she's agnostic, so she's going to be a skeptic right off the bat, and
Hmm.
she's not going to be seeing this stuff coming, and she's not going to want to believe that it's happening when it is happening.
Hmm.
So I felt like that was just a fun way to go with her character to kind of keep pushing some of this stuff off. I'm trying to stay focused on doing my job, but these weird things keep happening.
Hmm. So the title, "Who Put Bella in the Witch Elm?" It's a fantastic title, by the way. It's a great title.
Thank you.
But with there's so many stories with that same title. There's the Alex story that you mentioned. I know there's a movie as well, or maybe a TV
It's like a
show,
documentary. It's a
documentary kind of thing.
documentary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you, when you were getting ready to push this book out, did you ever have that thought of maybe I should change the title of this, or was it always I'm sticking with this title just because
I
that's
just couldn't
what
get around it.
grabbed you? That's what
I
grabbed
couldn't get around it. Yeah. It was just like every time I turn around, I kept thinking of a different title, just calling it Bella, whatever. And I was like, just none of them really grabbed me the way that actual question, which is, again, coming from the graffiti that actually is in that town. You see it all over the place. Um, but it's just like it just grabs you, into the whole weird story itself. So I couldn't get away from it, no matter how much brainstorming I did, coming up with this, coming up with that, and I don't even remember half the titles I came up with. None of them.
none of them hit the mark.
It was this one. Yeah.
Hmm. Have you did you visit the town in real life?
No, man. But I tell you what, though, my Google Maps though basically defaults to Hagley at this point in the street view. Oh my gosh. No, I didn't. I didn't have the money. I didn't have the time. I wanted to. I know that a good author should do their homework, but no, I didn't get a chance to go over there. But I mean, literally every location in that town is actually a location in that town. There is
Mhm.
not a thing that I mentioned that isn't actually there, with the exception of this. Um, the current police station for Hagley is actually in a different location. The one that's mentioned in the book is the old location, and it closed down, I don't know, maybe 10 or 15 years ago, and then it now moved to a new location. It's now currently a nursery for children. It's kids school.
Interesting.
But no, that location actually at one point was the police station. Now the inside of the police station, totally my imagination, totally all made
Yep.
up. But the actual location, the outside of it, the streets for it, and even the other police station that she visits a little bit, that's there. Um, uh that's real, and I used all the images and the street names, all that stuff. All of those things are legit. There's not a single location in the book that's made up, other than the interiors of places that might be slightly changed for the story.
Hmm. So I want to express my appreciation for something that you did within this book that I don't see a lot within horror stories. Definitely ones that are based off of real life events. I've read multiple books. I'm like, oh, this is obviously they took the story from this. I mentioned this in my review as well. At the end of your book, you go in and you're very clear on this is the real, this is what I made up. This is real, this is what I made up. What made you decide to go through and add that in there to show a lot of respect towards the real story?
I just thought it was fun. For me, I mean, I had fun weaving it all together. So I thought it would be fun to unweave it at the end for people,
Mhm.
to really understand. And to some degree, Corvina talked about this when she read it, and she and I were DMing back and forth there for a while before she joined DVS. Um, and she's of a different religious perspective than I am. Much respect to her.
Mhm.
And her idea is that Bella was speaking to me. Now, I'm not that type of person. I'm a Christian. I don't necessarily think that way, but that's what she says. She says that Bella was trying to speak through me. Maybe it's true. Maybe it's a bunch of hogwash. I don't know. But so I did. I wanted to keep as much of it true. even though it was a ghost story and I was adding that whole element to it,
Mhm.
I did want to honor her as a real person, and I wanted to honor the town as a real town because to them in Hagley, she's a real person. She
Mhm.
was someone's loved one at one point.
Mhm.
Because again, she was probably a mother. That
Mhm.
that is actually part of the history of her, um, and so someone missed her. So I wanted to honor that. So disseminating that information, re-separating out and pulling it all apart, I feel like was an important part of the process at the end.
So speaking of the real life, and I do again, I appreciate you doing that because it meant a lot to me as the reader of you going through and doing that. From all your research with the true story, was there anything from the real life story that you felt was too unsettling to put within the book? Was there anything like I can't put this into the story?
I think I used it all. I
Did
think
you
I
feel?
used every unsettling element that I could find. I used it all. I don't think I held back anything, in that regards. Um, I mean, there was nothing because she's truly a Jane Doe. So there's nothing
Mhm.
of personal nature I could reveal about her that was,
Mhm.
unsettling any more than my imagination was going to be. So I did have to even inject a little bit more into it because I had to create who she actually was, which is
Mhm.
obviously part of the fallacy of my story.
Mhm.
Um, but no, I didn't pull any punches on any of those things. It's all there. The only time I pulled stuff out wasn't because I felt like it was inappropriate or anything like that. It's just because of time and it's just unnecessary. Like, okay, I could add that, but why would I add that? It's not really adding to the story
Mhm.
and pushing the story forward. So I was like, okay, you don't need that.
Awesome. So Mark has a question, and let me find it. Oh, here we go. Mark says, I don't know if you asked this already, but what really pulled you to the true story? So we talked about how you found the story, and the big aha moment was the just the title itself. But outside of the title, was there anything specific during that 2.5 minute video
The
that was like,
graffiti.
I'm obsessed? It was the
The
graffiti.
graffiti, because the graffiti just keeps showing up in that town. It started
Mhm.
in 1944, a year after she
Mhm.
was found. And then, it still appears in this town. People still go around graffitiing different places with this question. Now, the question technically is reworded a little bit different every time. Sometimes it's who put Bella down the witch elm, who put Bella in the witch elm, who put Lou Bella in the witch elm. So even her name even changes a little bit over time. So there's a little variation, which I unified it all. So it's always who put Bella in the witch elm in
Mhm.
my version, just for simplicity's sake. But just that whole idea of like, why are people tagging this town with this graffiti over and over and over again? It's like they've got this weird obsession with it. They have to have it answered. Why can't they get it out of their head? And oh, is it Bella herself
Mhm.
getting into their heads? And she won't let them go.
Mhm.
And that's where then it started to click, for me, like,
Mhm.
okay, so here's a ghost. She doesn't even know who put her in the witch elm. So she's asking everyone else who put me here. And so the idea was, well, yeah, of course, the town's going mad. And so they're asking the question because they need to know so they can tell her because she's driving them insane with it.
Mhm.
So that's really where the gears started to go was with the graffiti.
Awesome. Yeah, I find that very, very interesting personally when that they still do that now. And that's the part that I find very intriguing, which has me asking a lot more questions. Wants me to dive deeper into this. So I'm excited to continue my obsession and investigation into this by reading other people's perspective and works with this. Um, for you as the author for this story, what are you hoping from a it could be from an emotional state? Do you want readers to feel when they close the last when they finish the last page of your story? Are you looking for them to be uneased, to have fear, to have empathy? Is there some kind of like feeling or emotion you want someone to have when they close your book?
I want them to be obsessed. I want them to want to know who put her in that daggone witch elm. I still want to know. Come on. I want to know who put her in there.
Mm-hmm.
What really happened? Was it a Nazi spy? I don't know. Was it witchcraft? Ooh, it's definitely creepy. Was it just domestic violence? I want to know. I
Mm-hmm.
really do. And I definitely hope that when people close the book, they read the afterword, they've read the foreword, they've read the whole book, hopefully all the way through. And they start to be like, well, it's like this really happened. Like, and then they want to go and
Mm-hmm.
read Alex's book of all the police documents and everything, and then watch a documentary on it, and then go to Hagley and try to find the tree since no one can find it anymore. Why can't we find this damn tree after 80 years?
Mm-hmm.
So, I that's what I want. I want people to walk away being obsessed with the real murder.
Love it.
It'd be nice if it got solved one day. I doubt it ever will, but it would be wonderful.
Mm-hmm. Me too, Mark. Me too. I've gone through and watched multiple videos about it, but I got to go through and read Alex's book as well. So that's
Well,
gonna
my dad was going back and forth when he beta read it. He's reading my book and then he's googling it. And he's reading my book and I mean, he's flip flopping. He's like, I don't know what to read more. Like, thanks, Dad. My
be.
book is the correct answer to that question. But thank you.
It's always my book. That's
Yeah,
read
yeah,
mine and then go over
yeah.
there.
Then
That's
everyone else
so,
is afterwards. Yeah,
that's so funny. All right, so we're on the part of the conversation that I like to call the lightning round, and where I'm going to go
okay.
through and ask Blake just about 9 questions that he just needs to not think and just first thing that comes to his head. All right,
Not think. Oh, that's
not
easy.
think. There's no thinking. Just first thing comes to your head, and we'll jump through it. All right. I'll start off.
Okay.
Start with an easy one. Are you a coffee or a tea drinker while you write?
I'm a Monster energy drinker.
Monster, green one,
The zero sugar. Yeah.
the blue one. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's green here in the Czech Republic. They got rid of the blue one. Now it's green, so zero. Which is
Oh,
why Emma has an obsession with Red Bull, by the way. That was me.
that was that.
Yeah,
That was a
that
little
was me.
you sprinkling it. Love it.
Yep.
One word to describe who put Bella in the witch elm. Your book, not the true story, but your book. One word.
Creepy.
Okay.
Hopefully.
It is definitely creepy. The introduction of the story was very creepy. A lot of fun. Really enjoyed it. It was like that's what really got me hooked in very quickly was that first scene of the story. So don't want to get into it. I kind of went in pretty blind and I really want everyone to do the same thing. But if you're not hooked in from the first scene of the book, I need to understand why. So message me, let me know.
Well, of course, then you're going to have all the people who skip preludes altogether. And they're going to be like, what are you talking about? What interesting scene are you discussing? Because I don't know.
Uh,
I don't read preludes,
I who are those the same people that just skip to the end of the book to find out what happens?
Probably. But all I know is there's a huge, every 6 months or so, there's always a huge discussion on X about how we don't read preludes. They're just info dumps and stupid. So
Okay, that's interesting. Very
yeah.
interesting. Definitely when it comes to these types of stories, like true
Yeah.
crime, horror, normally the prelude's like that big jump of like, hey, here's some creepiness before we jump into the
Yeah.
read the prelude. I didn't know people didn't read the prelude. I know people don't read author's notes, but I didn't know they
Yeah,
don't read
right. Right.
the
Yeah.
prelude of a story. Interesting.
I don't know. I'm
Interesting.
not one of those.
Yeah, I definitely read it. All right. If you all right, dream literary dinner guest. You could invite 3 authors or 3 directors, dead or alive. Who are you going to invite over as a guest?
Man, my language skills are so bad. The Spanish guy, he just did Frankenstein on Netflix. He's done so many wonderful horror movies. And my Spanish is so terrible. I cannot pronounce his name. I can't recall his name fully right now. And it would be embarrassing to have him at a meal because I wouldn't be able to say his name. Guillermo.
Yeah, Guillermo del Toro.
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
My Spanish is so bad. Yeah, him definitely. Maybe Alfred Hitchcock.
Oh, that'd be cool. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, come on now. Um, you know, we'd have to stay away from all politics. Just completely to state politics is not allowed to walk to the door. I might have to still invite Stephen King,
Hmm.
but yeah. So
Okay.
you said three, right? That was
That's
three.
perfect. Those are
Yeah,
good. And that'd be interesting guests to have together and just
yeah,
be a fly on the wall as they interact. I feel like I would just be
right.
like sitting there eating and giving them the food and just hearing them go at it. I
Yeah.
think it'd be good. I think it'd be good. Huh. All right. Now, all right. This one, I love this question. The fantasy trope you would happily see never again. Pretty much a trope you dislike the most. I'm curious. I'm always
Oh,
curious about this one. Your least
oh,
favorite.
I hate this trope. I absolutely hate this trope. This is the it didn't really happen. It was all in their head trope. I will murder someone over this trope. I just read an absolutely fantastic book. I won't say what book it is because I don't want to ruin it for someone. But oh, I love this book. It was fantastic, and it was just so perfect. Me, this haunted house, so perfect. Me, I was like, yeah, this is great. It's a traditionally published book, and it got to the end, and the police are over, and they're arresting her, and she's like, oh my gosh, yeah, it was all in my head. And I'm like, no, no, you do not do this to me. This whole story, the walls are bleeding and everything, and now you're doing this to me. And she's walking out the front door in handcuffs. And I was like, no, no. And then thankfully, they all start to die from the ghost. I was like, oh, thank God. Like, thank you. But no, I hate that, man. No, don't do that to me. Do not tell me it's all in their head. Ah,
I,
makes me
I
angry.
out of that question, I ask that question every few interviews just because I'm always curious, and that's the first time I've heard that one of it was all in their head, and I will have to say, yeah, that's probably on my least favorite tropes. I just, yeah, yeah, I would be very
There's
annoyed.
a lot of
And it's
tropes that are out
yeah,
there that are like, they're boring, they're overdone. But when it comes to horror, like I want a ghost. I want. If you're telling me a ghost story, I
make it
want an
real.
actual ghost.
Yeah.
Don't give me this crap. It's all in her head.
All right, last one. This one's my favorite question. I ask this to every single author, and you
Okay.
can think on this one. You can think. I'll be considerate on this one. If Who Put Bella in the Witch Elm had a theme song, what would it be?
The opening title song to the movie Woman in Black. Um,
Hmm.
a Tea Party for Three, I think is actually something like that, is the name of it. And it's because that soundtrack was basically on repeat as I wrote the book. As I did the research, as I did all the outlining, that soundtrack was on repeat, just to kind of get my headspace in a creepy place. Because I absolutely love that movie. I love that book. Woman in Black is fantastic. That's the Daniel Radcliffe one,
Okay.
2012. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I've not seen that.
Oh, come on now. Read
I
the
know.
book. Read the book at least. I mean, if you're gonna
Okay.
read, since you're a reader, read the book.
Okay.
Yeah, it's so good. I love it because that's the type of ghost story that I just absolutely love. And you'll see some similarities, I think, between um, my headspace when I wrote this one versus when you read that one. You're like, oh, I can see that. Yeah, there we
Mhm.
go. There she is. Yeah,
There she is. Love it.
yeah.
All right. So I appreciate. Thanks for doing the lightning round. That's fun. I always get entertained. I think I need to start putting a Spotify soundtrack together. Of I think I might consider doing that because I've done enough
There you
interviews
go.
now where I've asked that question, and I can be like, "Hey, here's all the authors' songs that they said would fit their book." Yeah,
Yeah,
I think I might do that. That's an idea. That's just a thought bubble. Might do that.
that could be some really big chaos.
It's a
Like you're
hundred
you're
percent.
like that's gonna be all over the
It's going
place.
to be
Like
all over the place.
like what the heck is this?
It's it's going to be chaotic. It's going to be
Yeah,
chaotic, but I think
yeah,
it'll be fun. At least entertaining to me. What at the
yeah.
end
The
of the
shuffle
yeah.
mode is gonna be wild.
Oh my goodness, yeah, to be awesome. If if you could see Who Put Bell in the Witch Elm adapted. Now, you have all the money, you have all the the freedom of choice. Okay, so money's not included. What kind of medium would you want with this? Would you want it to be like um, a movie, a short series? What do you think would
I
work best for you?
I like those, this idea of doing like the 8 to 10 episode short one season
Hmm.
stories. Um, Movies are great, but I feel like sometimes movies just like you get a director, I don't know why they just like, we don't give a crap about the source material. Of course, Witcher did that too. Oh, what's this? Let's just get rid of that and start all over again. Now, I think, yeah, an 8 to 10 series show on HBO, Netflix type thing, BBC, whatever. They got some really good of those, 8 to 10 episode shows that are really, really nice. I think that would be, in my opinion, the justice it deserves.
Do you have someone in mind to
Oh
play
yeah,
Emma?
Felicity Jones, for Rogue One. She also did Inferno with oh my gosh, Tom Hanks. Um, that was a Dan Brown movie. She's done a couple others, but she actually was my muse the entire time. So as I wrote Emma, I don't know how that came about, but she just popped in my head. So the entire time I wrote that, it was her. No other character had that. Oliver didn't have that. I still cannot come up with who would be Oliver in my mind, other than maybe Timothy Oliphant, but he doesn't have a British accent.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, definitely Felicity. She
I
nailed
can
it.
see it. I can see it.
Yeah,
100%. Yeah, she was in Inferno with Tom Hanks. Yeah. I completely forgot she was in that movie until you just said it.
yeah.
So yeah.
Well,
I
because
can.
that character, her, she's a doctor, I think, in that one.
Hmm.
And so she wore like those little business suits and stuff like
Hmm.
that. So that kind of like, oh yeah, okay. That's the visual that I have for her when I wrote it. It was that visual.
So after spending so much time inside this story, the atmosphere, the history, the obsession you had with this, what kind of world or story are you hoping to do next? Something equally dark or something completely different?
Darker,
Darker. Okay.
but I'm not a big fan of gore. So, Jan, sorry, Jan, you love your gore, and I love reading your gore, but I don't like watching gore, and
Hmm.
I don't know, just that's not me. So I actually had some serious gore, like the final scene with the showdown at the end of my novel had an extremely gory scene, and I ripped it all out. Because I was like, nah, my mom and dad are going to read this. No, thank you. Yeah, so I take a lot of the gore out, but definitely still, darker though, creepier, hopefully, scarier, hopefully, but still paranormal. Although I do have one cosmic horror in the lineup as well, but I love my paranormal ghost stories.
Is this next one based off of a true story as well, or are you trying to go a different route?
No,
If you don't feel
yeah,
you're ready to say, you don't have to.
no, I can share all you want, except for spoilers. No, so no, the two that are coming up are not based on true stories. They're 100% fabricated. So the one is a cosmic horror, takes place in the 1970s Ohio. So I'm from Ohio, and the
Mhm.
70s are just the best. Are you kidding me? I had to do that. And then the other one is a paranormal horror, taking place in the late 1990s. And that's the one that I'm currently obsessed with, because of the characters, is me and my sister. And so when you read it, you might not think, oh, this is Blake, and this is his sister, but it is 100%, because It's about a Down syndrome individuals. The one of the protagonists is Down syndrome, and my sister had Down syndrome before she passed away, and so this is the adventure that we never got to have. So I'm really enjoying writing this one, because I get to see potentially what could have been me and my sister going on whatever, adventure together, and whatever life we could have had as siblings. And it's been quite nice, but the roles are reversed. um the male character has Down syndrome and the female character does not.
Hmm.
So, but it's a paranormal horror
Interesting. It's based in the 90s.
based in the 90s, yeah,
Okay.
because um I like the idea of, you can get rid of a lot of technology and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But there's just a few things that kind of necessitated a certain age of the characters. And since it was based off of me and my sister, um, the age that we are in the book is what it would have been in 1999. So that's how old I was in 1999. And that's
Okay.
how old my sister would have been in 1999. So,
Wow. Awesome. That's very cool. That's very cool. That sounds fun. Definitely, since you're looking for, it has that connection to you as well. But the fact that you're like, hey, we're going darker with this. We're going
yeah.
more scarier, more paranormal with your stories as you start building on those. Is that what you see yourself being for, like, as your legacy? Are you looking to be the horror author, or are you looking to be like, this is just the route that I'm on now, but I want to also check out these genres? I know you mentioned earlier dark fantasy. You have 70,000 words there. I don't know if that's something you kind of potentially want to lean back to at one
I
point.
might go back to that story. I do like fantasy, and I even have some sci-fi ideas. I have a long list of story ideas that are just, the premise is kind of fleshed out. But I would say horror in general is my go-to. So while I might write other things, horror will always come back to it. And I even have some kids stuff in mind, um, where it would be like a Goosebumps type thing,
Mhm.
where it would be for my daughter since she's
That's
6. It would be more tailored for her because she's a lot like me. She loves these little, she's all into Scooby Doo right now, which is like, oh my gosh, like, thank you. I get to watch these with you again. How awesome is that? So she loves, those types of things too. So Halloween is fantastic for her. So I would like to be able to write a story that she could read. Says she can't read this one yet. So
Yeah, yeah. I would not encourage it
no,
yet, but that's so
no.
cool. Going through and thinking of writing a story or stories, because potentially, if you want to go the Goosebumps route of making, hey, here's multiple stories for preteens, teenagers, and have them like work their way up and be able to um, see those amazing stories of something their father made. That's really cool. Um, Speaking of Halloween, are y'all doing a family costume for this Halloween, or do y'all do just have
Sort
your
of.
starter?
So this week is a national holiday in the Czech Republic. So even though we're not Czechoslovakia anymore, they still recognize as a state holiday the Independence Day of Czechoslovakia from the Austro-Hungarian Empire way back when. So the kids have the whole week off from school. So they don't want to do Halloween, although
Mhm.
Halloween is not a Czech holiday. It's been imported by America and they love it. Um, and so we actually did trick or treat on Thursday.
Okay,
And Lily has gotten into the Adams family, so she obviously wanted to be Wednesday. And I went as Lurch. And
nice.
since it rained the entire time, I got to be the Lurch, just followed her around with an umbrella the entire time. Now I didn't have a costume, but I just did the whole you rain, type thing the whole entire time. Try to get that deep gravelly voice, to play the character. But she didn't care. She had fun with it. And then my wife was Morticia.
That's
She
awesome.
did put on a little bit more of a costume than
Yeah,
I did.
that's so cool. That's so
I'm
cool.
lazy.
Hey, at least you did the voice. You did the hold. You probably did the walk into. That's awesome.
Well, I'm tall, so that
Yeah.
helps,
Yeah.
being, a tall lurch guy. But I didn't want to shave. That was the thing. I was like, if I have to be lurch or, the husband, Gomez, I'll have to shave. I don't want to shave. I'm not shaving for this. So
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah. Love
I
it.
got lazy.
I hear you. I hear you. Yeah, we're doing Star Wars this year. So the
Nice.
kids are really into Star Wars. Um
Are you
the
Palpatine?
I am not. We are so I am just a Jedi. 'Cause
Okay. Oh,
so
generic. Okay, gotcha.
just a generic Jedi. My son, so they're into the Clone Wars cartoon, and they don't
Oh, nice.
so
Yeah.
they don't know. My kids' favorite characters are Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin are their favorite.
Yeah.
So they haven't met Darth Vader yet. They have no idea what's happening. So people are like, "Oh, you Star
Oh,
Wars,
wait.
Darth
You
Vader."
mean they actually don't know?
They don't know yet. No.
Oh, fantastic.
We're
Okay.
having them watch the cart. So the plan is, I want them to watch the cartoon Clone Wars, get right up to the point where Anakin starts turning bad, have him then watch the prequel series until episode 3, then jump to episode 4, 5, where then you find out Darth Vader killed his Anakin. He's going to be very emotionally distraught, and then we're going to find out that way. So he's going to have hours and hours
Okay.
of
Mhm.
connection with the characters before you find out
Nice.
your favorite character was the bad guy the whole time.
That's right.
I'm
There you
trying to break them, trying
Let
to
them
break
down slowly,
break them.
painfully. There
So
you
like
go.
we've been doing so much stuff with it, and he's getting so excited. So he wanted to be Anakin first, and he's like, "No, I want to be Obi-Wan. I like Obi-Wan." So he's dressed up as Obi-Wan. My youngest loves the Yoda character, so he's going to be Yoda, and so it's going to be fun. So
Nice.
I'm trying to traumatize them as
There
much
you
as I
go.
can with the Star
That's
Wars.
like a good parent. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So listen, I can only do so much. So why not traumatize
Well,
them?
Disney traumatized all of us with it. So it's like
Mhm.
you're just passing on that legacy.
Right,
So,
right.
yeah.
So we had a Star Wars. It'd be we'll jump back to your book, but we had a Star Wars party, and people were like, "Oh man, Darth Vader," and I was like,
Yeah. It's like,
"Yeah," and he was like, "Who's that?" I'm like, we're not there yet.
yeah.
We don't know who that is because I'm like, don't play. Like you're ruining the plan. Like I worked
It's
very
like
hard
that
to get this
that
plan.
Seinfeld episode where they showed Kramer coming out like in like 1980 or whatever, and it's like, oh my gosh, Darth Vader was his father. And everyone in the lines, oh,
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the game plan. So we'll see. We'll
Yeah,
see if we can commit to it, but that's the goal
there you
right now.
go.
So hopefully by this time next year, they'll be distraught with Star
Perfect.
Wars. So getting them
Love it.
sucked back in. So that I got a few more questions. I got like
Yeah.
3 more for you. When people look back years later, so I'm thinking the next 20 years of your writing career, when people go through and look back to you, Blake, and they look at your stories, what do you want them to remember? Do you want them to go through and remember the mystery, the emotion, the atmosphere? What do you want them to go through? What do you hope?
Well, obviously, okay, that'll be a little bit different than what I want them to take away from Bella, since I want them to be
Mhm.
obsessed with the
Correct.
actual
Hmm.
murder. But for all the others, I would hope that just they were fun. It was fun. It was a fun read. I enjoyed it. I mean, that's really like, okay, yeah. I wish everyone would think that I was the scariest author known to mankind. Really, honestly, what book is truly scary anymore? I mean, like, can you really get scared from a book sometimes? Like, I haven't been scared from a book in
Hmm.
forever.
Hmm.
But I find these books fun and they're great. They're interesting. They draw me in. So for me, that's what I want people to have with like, okay, yeah, maybe it's not scary, but it's fun. And as long as they can walk away saying that we had fun reading
Hmm.
Blake's books and that we enjoyed them. Maybe he's not the best writer. Maybe he's made some mistakes here and there with characters and whatnot, plot stories, whatever. But they were fun. If I
Hmm.
could pull that off, then I'm a happy author.
So, what is your final pitch? So, for people that are still on the fence about going through and picking up this book, do you have a final pitch for those individuals to pick up Who Put Bella in the Witch Elm?
Man, final pitch. You always get the elevator pitch question, but no one ever asks you the final pitch question. Um, would you, if you were murdered and you couldn't remember who did it and you didn't have justice, how far would you go to want it? Like, what would you do? Would you just like, whatever, I'm just going to go to the afterlife, or would you want to see justice for yourself? And how far would you be willing to go for that? And that's this book.
That's fantastic. That's a good final pitch. That's noteworthy. That's noteworthy. Blake, I really appreciate you jumping on, and everyone that come on in the chat
Thank you
or
for having me.
watching the recap. I really do appreciate it. This was so much fun. I really loved your book, and I'm going to have all Blake's information in the description below. Go through, support Blake, go through and follow him on all the socials, and go through and pick up this book. I promise you, you'll have a blast. And read the book. Don't jump around or skip stuff. Just read the book. I find that crazy.
Don't skip the prelude.
Yeah, you need that for the story. It's fantastic. So thank you so much, Blake. It was so much fun. And you have an open invitation whenever your next one comes out. I'm looking forward to it. It sounds a lot of fun. And I appreciate everyone. Thank you so much for watching. And make sure to stay overbooked. Thank you very much. Y'all have a fantastic rest of your day.